believe it or not, but this is me 5 years ago as a hair model in the UK. But this is not where the journey begins, so let's spin back a couple of more years. Hair has been such an important aspect of my identity for as long as I can remember. Ever since I was young, both my older sister and I got so many compliments for our hair. Growing up in Sweden, and if you know Swedes, blonde hair and blue eyes. My sister and I had the blue eyes, but we both had very dark brown curly hair. So we were kind of exotic, and a lot of the compliments that we would get would be, oh, your hair is so nice, your hair is so thick, it's so curly. And people would even think I was from Brazil, Spain, France, Italy. So a lot of people would even be like, okay, but where are you actually from? I always thought that was like kind of cool, that people would think that I'm not from Sweden, even though I'm 100% Swedish. Well, maybe some percentages here and there, but basically 90% Swedish. Even at a young age, I was so aware of how I looked. I remember my mom cutting my hair once, and she cut it too short, and I refused to leave the house. We were going to my grandparents for dinner, and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I had to wear a cap the entire dinner. And call me a brat, but I was just very aware of how I looked and how I wanted to present myself to the world. At the age of 8 to 9, I had cornrows. I grew out my hair really long, which is actually something I got bullied for. People would call me Michael Jackson because I had my hair very long, and yeah, it just wasn't the common thing where I was at the time. So for me, having hair was a way for me to express myself, was a way for me to stand out, was a way for me to differentiate myself from everyone else. And I took full advantage of that because I had great hair. And then as I got older, I went through the different phases, I had different haircuts, as I'm sure most of you guys had as well. Puberty hit. I started getting an interest for modeling. Although I wasn't very tall, I'm 180 centimeters, I thought that I could become a model because I was athletic, I had the body for it, and I just thought it would be like the best job ever to just stand in front of a camera, getting your photo taken, just looking good. So yeah, I always had that in the back of my mind because I didn't want to work in an office. So modeling was what I wanted to do. And then after high school, I went to uni in the UK. And while I was in the UK, I worked part-time in a store, but I also started modeling. And that is where this comes into place. I did all different types of modeling. I did some underwear stuff, I did some streetwear stuff, I did stuff for e-commerce. But in this shoot right here, I was a hair model. At the time, I didn't have any hair loss, and that is just 5 years ago. And I worked with the same barber here. I don't know if you can see that because of the reflection, but right there and right there I am. So while I was at uni, I tried to pursue the model career side by side to uni while I worked part-time, but also I got a big interest for music. Music is something that has been with me for a very long time, since I was about 10, 11 years old, and it's something that I've been putting off and then doing, putting off and doing, but it's always been there with me. So while I was at uni, I studied, I worked part-time, I modeled, and I made music. And as we know from music as well, the image that you sell is super important. I even started to express myself more, I started uploading more photos onto Instagram, and I became even more obsessed with how I looked, how my hair was. I got a haircut every 7 days. And then I learned the more I modeled that being a model isn't really that fun because you don't get to be creative. I love being creative, which was something of a disappointment when I started modeling, that you're basically just a canvas, a mannequin for someone else's creative project. So I didn't really feel like it fulfilled my purpose, but however, music did that. So I could still, be in front of the camera, I could sing, I could do the music videos, do the photo shoots for Instagram, and I could still, look good, take care of my appearance, and be creative. So I was at uni for 4 years, and the last 2 years, all I wanted to do was music. I set up like a music studio, I would record myself singing live, and I would upload it onto social media, and I would get a lot of compliments and comments on my appearance and my hair, and I'm not trying to brag about getting compliments, not at all, but I want to show you guys how hard it is to detach yourself from something that has been so close to your identity. And when I graduated from university with the top grades in my class, I must add, moved back to Sweden, and there I would continue to pursue my music. I was a cafe manager during the day, and at night I would sit in the booth and make music. Also, I had like an irregular schedule, so whenever I wasn't working, I was making music or going to the gym working out. And during this time, I became even more obsessed with my image because I looked at all these other people on social media making music, and their music was okay, but one thing that they really had was, they had their graphic design perfected, they had their image that they portrayed on social media perfected, they had different looks that was iconic to them, and I tried to find what my look could be. However, I wanted the world and I didn't want to wait 10, 20 years. I wanted it right now. I think that was a huge mistake to make because I wanted to go from point A to B, which usually takes years to do, but I wanted it in such a short time, which is not humanly possible. And I wasn't signed to a record label or anything. I was working by myself with my producer. And although we accomplished a lot, what it did was it wore me out. So I remember while I was working in the cafe, I was making music and that's all I did. I didn't do any modeling. I just did the, occasional photo shoots for Instagram to attract people to come and listen to my music. I don't really know what the strategy was. But one day a customer came into the cafe that I was managing and he said, "Hey, are you a model?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a model," because a couple of years back I had been modeling, so it wasn't really a lie. And he said, "Great, I'm a barber. I think you have really good hair. I would love to do a photo shoot with you if you're available in 2 weeks." And I said, "Hell yeah, let's do it." For me, it was free content, so why not? So I went to his barbershop, but it wasn't a barbershop, it was a hair salon. So I went to his hair salon a couple of days before the shoot, and he was just gonna test different looks on me. So he asked if he could have, creative freedom. I told him that's fine, I don't really care, because I've had the majority of haircuts anyway, so I know I can pull most of them off. So he proceeded and cut my hair. And I thought it looked cool. He put a little bit of bleach in it, had a bit of highlights, got that like 90s vibe. And then speed forward to the actual shoot, he changed his mind and he wanted to dye my hair green. And for me, I'm not really a social justice warrior, so I didn't really feel that look, although like the photos are really cool. I didn't really feel that look. And he didn't just apply the green coloring to the bleached parts, but actually to my entire hair. So after the shoot, what happened was my hair was a little bit green all across my hair, which just didn't look good. So I contacted him and I told him, "I'm gonna come back tomorrow, we're gonna try to wash it out." I went to his salon the next day, tried to wash it out, and it just wouldn't go away. So I told him, "All right, just give me a buzz cut and I'll just have to regrow it." So he cut my hair and then I asked him to cut it shorter and he said, "No, I don't want to do that." And I didn't really understand why he didn't want to do that. So when I came home, I looked, because that was so weird to me that he looked into my crown. You're sitting down, you're looking in the mirror, you're seeing him in the mirror, looking into your scalp or your crown, and he says, "No, I don't want to cut it any shorter." And I thought that was so strange. So that little voice told me to, when you get home, look yourself in the mirror. And in the apartment that I was staying at had those flip mirrors, so I could stand on one side and I could look in the back and see, like a 360 view of my hair. So I went in and I had a bald spot in my crown. And not like a 100% bald spot, but it was a clear difference between the balding spot and the hair that is permanent on the sides. Oh, that just accelerated all the stress that I already had. And from there it was just downhill, to be honest. Like, I can't explain to you how bad I felt. I just felt constantly like warm in my face. I felt like when I was going down the escalator, I couldn't stand, facing forward, because then people behind me could look into my crown, so I would always like turn around to the side, or I would, wear caps. Also in the cafe that I was working at, when I was serving customers, I would stand by the till, and by the time I took their order and I would go and make their stuff, if I turned around, I would kind of stand like on the side, like making things, because I didn't want people to, see the real me. And looking back, I actually don't think anyone noticed because my hair was so short, but to me it was the worst thing. I thought that people wouldn't think I was worth the same amount because I was losing my hair. And it's not like I didn't know I would have the potential to bald, because my dad is completely bald. However, there's always that little voice that's like, but it's not gonna happen to me. And because I had such great hair, and because everyone was giving me these compliments, I don't smoke, I don't drink alcohol anymore, I haven't been drinking alcohol for so many years. I just thought like, okay, but Victor, you're doing the right thing, so why in the hell would, someone punish you by making you go bald? And there I was, going bald at 23 years old, having my entire future in front of me, but all I could think about was that hair loss was the end of my life. And I did what all of us have done, including yourself. I went on the internet and I searched hair loss, what can you do? And I just dove into the rabbit hole and did my research. And what did it do? It just made me even more confused, because there was no consensus. Everyone said different things, had different side effects. I didn't know who to listen to. And I made the mistake that maybe some of you guys have done. I booked in a consultation at a hair loss clinic. So this is maybe a month after noticing that I was losing my hair. I went there. I don't think I can say their name, but I went there. And they told me about these medications that are used, that are FDA approved, called Finasteride and Minoxidil, that they can be very beneficial. However, they come with very serious, scary side effects that I shouldn't take because then I will regret it forever. And that was enough to scare me off because, you know, they're experts, right? So what I did was, okay, well, I must listen to her. This is her field. I mean, she wasn't a doctor. She wasn't even like a dermatologist. She was just a person representing a company. She put a microscope into my scalp. She looked at it and she said, well, Victor, you have male pattern baldness. That I can confirm. However, we do not recommend or prescribe any finasteride or minoxidil because of these potential side effects. So what I want to recommend to you is that you use natural substances as well as using laser therapy. This cost $1,500. And this was a 6-month program, and after 6 months we would reevaluate. And what it included was saw palmetto, it included some special formula for hair loss, a specially designed shampoo that I was to take daily, as well as this helmet that I would wear every second day for 20 minutes. And she said that this has proven huge success. She gave me one A4 paper study that she referred to and said that this is the best thing ever. And if at the time I knew what I know today, I mean, studies can be bought, they can be manipulated, you have to look at different sources for your answers. Also, going through a hair clinic was not a good idea because obviously they want to make money off of your shortcomings. And in this case, my shortcomings. But I was stupid and I bought into it. And I didn't have $1,500 at the time. So what I did was divided up the payment and paid it monthly. Speed forward 6 months, I grew out my hair, but my hair didn't improve whatsoever. The saw palmetto didn't work, their special pills didn't work, the shampoo that I took daily didn't work, it just made the quality of my hair even worse. And on top of that, the helmet didn't do anything for me. And in December 2019, I had no money, I was depressed, I was sad, I felt it was the end of my life, I avoided social situations, I felt bad constantly, I couldn't sleep at night, I drank even more caffeine, I had pain when I worked out, everything that I enjoyed doing just felt really bad. I couldn't make music anymore. Like everything was just so horrible. I went into this really dark hole that was so hard to come out of. But you know, hair for me was the biggest priority. So what I did was that I booked a doctor's appointment and I asked them to prescribe me Finasteride, which they did. I began taking Finasteride, had no side effects. I went on it for 1 year, so from December 2019 to December 2020. And during this time as well, I made a lot of changes. I moved to a new city. I completely stopped making music. That was out of the question. I couldn't do that because I was, mentally I was so fucked up. So just stopped doing that, stopped working at a cafe. I got a job as a social marketing manager for a barbershop actually, where I still work today. My routine changed immensely, but I was still feeling so bad about my hair. And moving forward to 2020 in December, I had read a little bit about derma rolling and I had incorporated it into my routine. So I was using Finasteride and derma rolling. And because I hadn't noticed any significant change with Finasteride, actually I think it may have just stopped my hair loss from further progressing, but I didn't get any regrowth. In 2019, that half year while I was trying the laser helmet and saw palmetto and the other stuff, my hair loss had progressed so much that, you know, I had to make a lot of recovery in order to get back to where I once was. Finasteride alone didn't really do much, so I thought, okay, well, then I'm just gonna quit taking Finasteride because it costs quite a lot. I weighed the options up whether to quit it or to continue taking it, and I decided to quit it and just use derma roller. And I want to say, which is contradictory to what I do now, using medication, is that I want to be as natural as possible if I can. So sure, there's going to be things that you do because of priorities and things you want to achieve that you will do unnaturally. And for right now, there is no such thing for hair loss, which is why I use medication, because I really want to have my hair. But that being said, I'd rather take nothing that's synthetic and lab made as opposed to taking a natural equivalent. So I quit taking Finasteride and just used the Derma roller. And I used that from the end of December 2020 up until about March 2021. And in March 2021, I had experienced so much shedding from discontinuing taking Finasteride that my hair loss had even progressed further. And even though I had my hair really short, I was feeling so shitty about my hair that I said, okay, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna go back on Finasteride and I'm gonna, just to save time, because if Finasteride at least can stop it, then I can just buy time to, reconsider what I need to do. So went back on Finasteride. I'd previously read that combining derma rolling minoxidil and Finasteride is really efficient. Even though some people see some results with minoxidil and some results with Finasteride, combining the two have a synergy effect, and on top of that, adding derma roller will maximize your hair regrowth gains. So in March I went on Finasteride. In April I added minoxidil. And I experienced a little bit of shedding initially, but then my hair regrew to the point it never had before. It was almost like within a couple of months, I almost had, 80-90% regrowth, which I was so happy about. I still remember I was out with a client doing social media work, and they wanted to capture content of me taking photos, and they took a photo from the back, and when he showed me, and I looked into my crown, there was full coverage and I couldn't see my scalp. And I was like, whoa, this is really working. So that stress of not having hair anymore kind of diminished. But I just continued using Finasteride, minoxidil, and derma rolling for that entire year. And then in 2022, I still used it, and I just got better and better results. It was really good. I don't think I actually ever recovered it to 100%, but I would say like 90-95% of it was regrown, which was amazing. But then, summer of 2022, I had started to contemplate going bald because I didn't want to take medication anymore, although the medication was very successful. I thought to myself, I want to be the best version of myself, and how can I show other people and inspire other people to be the best version of themselves if I am doing something to hide who I am, if that makes sense? So I was thinking about this for a long time, and then with the whole thing with Andrew Tate and masculinity and stuff, I was like, but I mean the most influential man right now is bald. I can be bald. I know I look okay bald. Why don't I just do it? I think it was June or July of 2022. I went off medication. I'd been on medication for 14 months at the time. Very successful story. Went off of it. Felt so amazing. I felt free. I felt like I wasn't a prisoner anymore. I didn't have to take the oral pill of Finasteride. I didn't have to apply minoxidil twice a day. I was just free, and I could just focus on, things that matter. But to my knowledge, that wasn't enough because I still wanted to have hair. So 2-3 months after that, on October 1st, 2022, I went back on medication. But this time, I didn't want to do it alone. And I wanted to create a community where I could share my struggles, inspire others, be inspired by people who've gone through this before me, and take away the taboo of losing your hair, because losing your hair is fucking shit. And it's something that a lot of us are gonna have to deal with. So spin forward a couple of months and we're standing right here. And now I'm making a online hair loss course, which is crazy. And it feels really good. I mean, I've made so much hair progress, and yeah, I couldn't be happier. So this is my hair loss journey.